A Shalom Markins of Kama Kapasham, GMS Lolling, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chakwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful words, pushing his truth and also sincerity. Back in another video, and I'm going to entitle this one, You Still Think Martial Law is Not Going to Happen? Alright, so we've got this article here from Newsweek.com. Alright, we got this, his name Ben Shapiro. Had his interview. And basically we're going into these orders that Trump is signing on bare orders, bare executive orders, but just like every other president, there's always been these executive orders and these orders that they've signed off on in the background, not pay too much attention to it, and they're not really doing anything at this moment in time, and they're just sitting there, they haven't done nothing with them. And it begs to think, like, why bother put them through if they have no intention, or what was the reason behind them wanting to sign that bill off in the first place if they had no intention of using it? It seems like a pointless exercise, right? And so lots of these things get signed off, not knowing what they're going to be, what their future use is going to be. Okay, but we know, because of prophecy, right? They intend to use the full amount of power that they've given themselves, all right, in the time that's been prophesied about in the scriptures, right? And it used to be a time where talking about martial law would be be made fun of, be mocked, right? Because they wouldn't believe it ever happened in America or whatever, right? Because we used to bring it out, beginning of the elders and apostles used to bring it out and talk about it. So that talk is being reignited again, okay, by this interview, this article here. So let's just get into it, right? It says Donald Trump's new order sparks martial law concerns, right? So now they're concerned about it. When we was teaching in the scriptures, it was a joke. With the J.D. Helm coverage and all this kind of stuff. We've been, reporting on this stuff for years now. All the holotic bullets, the guillotines, and all these kinds of things. Oh, it's all conspiracy, and there's no evidence of this. Well, yeah, I guess there's not supposed to be any evidence, so you can disbelieve it, right? But you're gonna find out that all these things were being done, all right? It says here, President Donald Trump has ordered federal agencies to increase the flow of military and national security equipment to local law enforcement. Okay, which they've been doing this anyway, right? They've been militarizing the police, way before that now. So, it shouldn't be to no surprise. But obviously, people were asleep in it. All right, so they hear this and like, oh, what they're doing this? Yeah, they've been doing it. All right, but more executive orders are being signed off on. And I guess it's going to increase. All right, so a move that has raised concerns about the militarization of policing across the United States. Why it matters. Research into militarized police forces has found the practice can erode public trust, escalate encounters between police and citizens, right? Which we know that's all part in prophecy, right? We could read that now, right? 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 16 says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes," right? So they're not going to be listening to the powers that be, okay, the authorities, right? So it's going to escalate encounters between police and citizens. All right, that's what the sedition is, right? I'm gonna come back to that in a minute though. So escalate encounters between police and citizens and blur the distinction between military operations and domestic law enforcement, right? Because it's supposed to be, I can't remember. I think it's like a Latin term or something like that, right? But basically, the American military is not allowed to operate on American soil, like in the cities and stuff like that. All right, I'm pretty sure there's a term for it. I can't remember it right now. So there has to be a clear distinction between military and domestic, right? Law enforcement. But like it's saying, it's blurring the lines now. The police are becoming military, right? And it's like almost like a way to get around it, you know, by having this, by just bulking up the police, so to speak, right? But like I said, they can declare martial law, and you get the full blown military rolling around in the streets. But that's not supposed to take place, according to your laws and whatever. All right, but they can do that during martial law, right? Um, so yeah, and blur the distinction between military operations and domestic law enforcement. This executive order, because like I said, he just signed bare executive orders. You know why? What is the need of it? If it's not immediate or it's not an emergency, why would he need to write these executive orders if they're not going to be used like soon? Right? Because they've all done it. They've all written executive orders and they've not been used. Right? They're being prepped. The it's being prepared for that time. Right? Because unless he's going to do it now, it doesn't seem like there's any point of him doing this. Right? So it's either going to happen soon or it's being stored away until the right time. So they can say, "Oh, yeah, we got all these rights and these powers. We're gonna use them." Because when do they ever, when the next presidents come in, when do they ever like unwrite it? These executive laws, they stay there. They just stay in the background. You know, um, this executive order specifically has increased fears around encroachment toward martial law. The president has already called for his government to review the Insurrection Act, right, which would give more domestic power to the military, and now wants to provide regular law enforcement with militaristic material. Like I said, they've been doing that, right? What to know? The strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. Executive order, which the president signed on Monday, directs Attorney General Pam Bondi and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, in consultation with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and other agencies heads, to increase the provision of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions within 90 days. Directive gives the Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense a 3-month deadline to begin expanding the provision of military and national security resources to assist state and local law enforcement. While the order does not specify the types of equipment that will be made available, past programs involving the transfer of military gear to police departments have included armored vehicles. Right, so they said they've been militarizing the police from a long time ago, and everyone should know this, really. But like I said, these things pop up again. It's like, oh, I didn't know they were doing this, and people were shocked, right? But they've been preparing them, right? So they've had the armored vehicles, tactical equipment, and surveillance technology. Let's see here. So it's all supposed to be to prevent crime, all non-lethal supposedly capabilities. So in addition to bolstering local law enforcement agencies, the White House has moved to expand the role of the U.S. military. It's moved to expand the role of the U.S. Is it supposed to be military? Probably. Military and domestic law enforcement. Earlier this month, Trump issued a presidential memorandum that directed the military to take a more direct role in securing the southern border, with the ability to detain and search individuals in the New Mexico National Defense Area. All right, so like I said, more executive was being signed off on, right? And again, it all just plays into prophecy. Do you still think martial law is not going to take place at some point? What would be the need to be writing all these laws in, all these orders? Why would it be necessary to, because we've got crime, immigrants, and these are the excuses or the plays that Esau makes to justify what he's doing. And for a lot of people, that is good enough. That's acceptable, right? So they're just going to allow these people to do that. But others are more concerned, as we're reading in this article here, right? Because they can abuse that power, which Esau typically does. Esau always abuses his power, right? So, like I said, this is all prophecy, and this is going to happen. All right. So I'm gonna start in Ezekiel 21, verse 9. It says, it says, "Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say, a sword is sharpened and also furbished." Right? Them militarizing the police as part of the sword being sharpened, because it's being prepared. Okay, being prepared to be used. Like these orders, they're being prepared for to be used at some point in time. Okay, the equipment that they're going to give them is going to be used at some point in time. Right, it's going to be deployed. Right, so they're strengthening them and sharpening them. Right, making them more lethal. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. Right, it's not. This isn't happening to protect people. Okay, that they're going to justify certain positions that we need to defend the people, so we need to put the military on the street, declare martial law to protect the citizens from rebels or whatever. T errors, and all that sort of stuff. But really, it's here to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that he may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Right? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree, and he have given it to be furbished. Okay, which you have to polish up, right? To refine. Okay, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened and it is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer. Okay, Esau is that slayer, right? He's gonna shed much blood. Okay, with this sword that he's given, right? Because we know he was the one blessed with the sword, right? And so he's gonna use this sword domestically to deal with any what would you say? Insurrection, insurrection. Where did he say it? It was up here, isn't it? Yeah, he mentioned about insurrection, right? Can't see it right now. But yeah, anyone that rebels against the demands of the commands of the government, so it's there to make a sore slaughter. Okay, like I mentioned in the previous video, none of this is coincidence, right? Everything is heading towards the Most High's desired outcome, His will, right? So the Most High said, "Oh, all these things are going to happen." Well, you're looking at the preparation towards it, And some people say, "Oh, you're just being doomsday prophets. You're just scaremongering and all this kind of business." Well, okay, you go on thinking like that, all right? This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." Oh, that sword that Esau's handling, that furbished sword, that yeah, it's coming. Judgment is coming, right? For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. So there's going to be anarchy, okay, which the elders brought out is no rule. It's going to be lawlessness. It's going to be crazy, right? Government not going to have to keep control of the nation, and so they're going to use force to control it, right? Law is not working, and so they're just going to use force to enforce, whatever it is that they want to do, where they put curfews in or whatever the case may be, right? But they're going to be armed military people on the street, whether they be police or ex-police or whatever, or military, or what do you call them, mercenaries, hired guns, whatever the case may be. All right, these governments are going to use them to control the nation and to stomp out rebellion. Okay, it says for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, right? Being unruly, right? And invading one another, right? So they're not going to care about all the law that we're supposed to be abiding by here. They're going to care about theft laws and murder laws and all that kind of shit, man. They're going to be running through people's houses because of the tribulation that's coming, or that they're going to be in at the time, because men are hungry, right? says that they shall not regard the kings or princes, so they're not going to listen. And the cause of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? I mentioned the curfews and lockdowns and stuff, right? For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, right? So this is why people are going to be acting, kind of crazy and shit, right? Because of the great tribulation and because of the lack of bread. And they're going to be going around, from area, place to place, looking for food, looking for resources, right? Because the government is not going to be able to take care of them, right? Even though, they're going to promise you, or they're going to come out with a solution, which is going to be the MOTB. But ultimately, this government's not going to be able to handle the situation, so people are going to be doing shit on their own. All right. So again, that would be the need to bring out the martial law. All right. It's Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation." Right. And Esau knows this. Right. That's why they're preparing. That's why they sign up executive orders. No one can't tell them, oh, you can't do this. Well, actually, we can. There's, we written executive order back in 2006 or whatever. You know what I mean? It says we could do this, and then what? Man, it's the sharp, isn't it? We have the right to do it. We're still the good guys, okay? But they're not, But they're doing everything legally, Then there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book, right? So there's hope for the elect to be delivered from these times of evil and tribulation, right? These times of trouble, right? But for everybody else, man, it's going to be hell, right? And there's not going to be no way out, ultimately, right? Judgment is coming in upon the land of America, and everybody that's not a part of the elect, which is the majority of Americans, okay, they're going to be destroyed. Okay, whether in the midst of all of this or when the missiles come, This is 2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 17. It says, "For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection." Right? I said the article mentioned insurrection. I couldn't see it. There's going to be insurrection. Okay, here it is. The president has finally called for his government to review his Insurrection Act. Has already called, right? So there's already, people going to be deemed, T to the terrorists and all that kind of stuff. Insurgents, whatever, right? And so, people like us are going to become mainstay targets because we're not going to be complying with, these government demands or whatever, right? Because they're going to want us to do things that we're not prepared to do, right? So, and they're going to blame us for a lot of things, and for the uprisings and whatever, like they're already trying to blame us for everything anyway. We're the worst group on the planet. All we do is incite hatred and all this madness. So yeah, they're really trying to pin us and shit already. So in that time they're gonna put the spotlight, more towards us, man, and try and pin the blame why everything's happening upon us. All right. So yeah, for there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none. Right, so Esau's not going to be playing games in that time. Esau's going to be in a different type of spirit. Right, this whole world's going to be in a different type of spirit. Right, you're not going to feel safe in it. All right, if you do feel safe, right, you ain't going to feel safe in it at all. Right, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. All right, it's also the time of Jacob's trouble. Right. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So, like I said, people are going to be running through people's houses, man, and you might have to vacate your premises, man. And like Scripture speaks about being pilgrims on the earth, you might have to go on foot and just, move in the spirit, because it's, you got an abode. You're gonna be a target. It's just simple as that, really. Yeah, it might not be safe for you to stay where you is, so you have to consider that. So then shall they be known, who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Right. So these are the elect that I mentioned. Okay, that we read in Daniel just now, who are going to be delivered. Right, the elect of the Lord, they're going to be tried, and they're going to be they'll be tried as the gold in the fire. Right. So they're going to go through shit, but only they're going to be delivered and saved. All right. So we're not worried about this occurring. This violence, this destruction that's coming. Okay, because we believe that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai can deliver us, man. All right. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. It says, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake like a dragon. Right. So we're coming into those times now that, Esau and his rhetoric, and these actions are going to become more fierce and more aggressive, more violent. Right. So signing off things like this, right, in preparation for that day means he could just go straight into dragon mode. Like, he ain't right now. They ain't doing a lot of talking about this. Or we have to crush the. They ain't talking like that. I mean, Trump might say some shit now and again, but these men are just signing off shit in the background and equipping people in the background. When the time comes, when the shit hits the fan, they can just come out and beat that dragon. For the sake of the state. Because there's a state of emergency, we have to protect, right, from these animals. So they're already lining it up for this, right? So yeah, they're gonna speak like a dragon. It's very, very rough, very harsh. I don't want right now. Let me check. It's Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. So therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. Right? He's coming in that dragon-like spirit, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Okay, Esau is on the clock, right? And this is why all these things are being signed off, right? So he can just get things done in one swift move. Okay, when the time's right to do it. You don't want to be no parliamentary process. Sitting there debating. No, he wants these. They want these things ready so they can just do it in one go. Okay, when it's ready. So yeah, he's gonna come with great wrath because we have but a short time. Okay, they got one shot. They got one shot at this, man, and they ain't looking to fuck it up. So they're getting everything ready and prepped, and make sure everything is in place before they pull the plug on this system. Okay, before they go full demon mode. All right. But back in Revelation 13, here in verse 15, it said, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right. So Esau's fully on this, man. For anyone that's not prepared to accept his new system, okay, and accept his demands and stuff like that, what he requires you to do, right, in order for your protection or whatever, right, he's fully prepared to delete you off the earth, right, and that's why he's got all this going on. That's why he's got the military and the militarization of the police going on, to send people to the grave, right, for anyone that is not being compliant, all right. And I said that's all going to lead, because you're going to be forced with a situation, right? So I'm going to read it on. Verse 16, and he calls it all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand on their foreheads, right? So you're going to have a choice. You either accept this system, and you take this mark, right, which is the RFID chip, Nate, and to all those out there that don't believe it, right? That's the choice you're going to be faced with. Okay, where your allegiances are. Is it in this world, or is it with the Most High and the Son? That's the choice you got to make. Who's your master, right? Because this is what this represents, a branding of types. Okay, but this one's going to be subdermal, man. Okay, we covered it for a long time, man. This is going to affect how you pay for things and buy things in the future. So this is their plan. This is what they plan to do to you. If you don't want to accept all of this, their new. He said, when you look at what these governments and these governing bodies want to kind of implement on the earth in the name of like saving the planet or making things equal or things like this, like it's all dystopian shit, right? None of it really benefits the common person, right? But the rich still benefit more than everybody else. It's crazy, right? But they want to restrict your movements. They want to stop you driving in cars, or they want you to pay for everything. They don't want you to leave the city. You know, you lock you in a 15-minute city. You know, because you're just too carbon. You know, you're a carbon emitter. You got to reduce your carbon emissions. You know, so we want you to restrict travel, and all these types of things. They want to tax the shit out of you, ration what you eat, control what you eat. You know, and so they can do all this with this chip because you just physically want me to buy none of this stuff anyway. You won't have the permission. You don't like a computer. Oh, on your phone, right? Your phone asks for permissions, right? Whether your phone can access, whether an app can access your phone or your speaker or something like that, whatever, right? It's like that. These chips will control what you can and can't do. Okay, whether you can make that purchase or not. You know, you might not have the right permissions to do certain things. So that's the elite's agendas, man, which they speak about openly in a lot of ways, right? They want to know what you're thinking. They want to know what you're feeling, right? They want to do the whole what's that movie, man? Something Report, Minority Report. You want to do that pre-crime shit. We've been talking about that, using AI for that type of shit to predict where crimes are likely to take place and blah 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 blah. You know, they want to do all these things, man. It's all to control you, man. So that's the plan. And to say if you're not prepared to accept all of this, and you wanna resist, Esau's got no problem putting you in the dirt, man. All right. So yeah, this is how this is how the dragon's gonna be. Right. That's how he's gonna be going on. Right. So I'm gonna close out with this. It's from Psalms 55 verse 21. Yeah. All right. So the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Right. So we're just doing these things to help the people. But it's always the way we're trying to help the people, make America great again. We're doing all of this, right? Because they always find the reasons or excuses that people could eat, like they could accept. Right? They're not gonna just tell you, man, yeah, because we want to take over. We want to chip everybody and control everybody and take over the earth in its totality. They're not gonna just come out and say that I'm the devil. So of course it's to help, because these men are meant to be appear as the righteous in the earth, right? That they're good, right? So they're not going to come out and just tell you, yeah, we got these things in place for our own purposes, our own evil purposes. They're not going to turn around and tell you that, right? So what they're going to tell you is that, this is an emergency. We need to keep people safe and this and that and blah 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, of course. Like who don't want to be safe, right? You don't want to eat, right? So yeah, okay. Sounds like you're trying to help, but it's a trap. It's bait. It's bait, right? To trap you, right? To reach their own goals. Because they ain't suffering, they ain't got about eating, so they ain't they ain't pressed. They ain't got to make a crazy decision. They're cool. But the average person out here, man, they're gonna be fucking at their wits' end, man, like fucking headless chickens, and they're just gonna make emotional decisions because these men are carnal, and they don't hold the word of the Heavenly Father in any type of regard. So they're gonna side with Satan, okay, and take his mark. Just so they can be fed and quote unquote protected or whatever. So yeah, the words of his mouth are smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. Right? He's really, bringing war to the people. This is really an attack. Okay, framed up as some type of defense. But that's how the devil is. The scriptures say, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. This represents Esau. Right? He knows how to play you into a corner. This is a war is in his heart. His words were softer than oil. Yeah, peace and love, equality, all this sort of stuff and whatever, right? He said, but yet were they drawn swords. It was just a ruse to put your guard down. That's all it is. Deception. Deception, what's that? I swear that's in probably the art of war. you know, Surprises and deceptions and stuff like that. They're important elements to warfare, right? So making you feel like these people are good guys is the ultimate, smoke screen. Thinking that they're doing everything for you, they ain't doing it for you. You're actually in the crosshairs too, But they're supposedly going after things that are in your interest. Supposedly, it's not. You're in the crosshairs too, man. All right. So again, if you think this ain't, if you still think this isn't gonna happen at some point, okay, you're really not living on the same planet. All right. But I'm gonna end it there. Lord, it's been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.